We made it. We made it to the week where one side will be very right and one side will be very wrong. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. There is a general distaste for Nintendo again, and I find it really sad. It went away for a while, but it feels like it's back, and the desire for Nintendo to stay like ho-hum is at an all-time high. We got new news to discuss. I'm not going to belabor the direct point, but I do want to touch on what some people are saying and how I think it's part of a greater bad thing, a greater evil, if you will. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. I really believe there's a direct this week. Nate Drake has been teasing it all freaking weekend long. Universo Nintendo and Necrophilippe have been teasing it for a long time now, and more. On one of the IGN podcasts, I don't know if it was Ryan McCaffrey. I think it was Ryan McCaffrey. Could have been someone else at the end of their podcast. They were talking about all the events are over, except maybe not. Maybe this coming week, maybe Nintendo. So even that was teasing it. It's being teased all over. Yet people are still so against it. There's videos made about we're all crazy. We just want Nintendo to put stuff out, and they're not going to put stuff out. They're not, right? Well, let me show you a few things that I want to talk about first. About stuff that is coming out, because we sure as heck know Splatoon 3 is getting big DLC known as Side Order. Called a Side Order, but it sure sounds like it could be a second main course. They were talking to the producer Hisashi Nagami, and he was saying it's indeed a single-player campaign and will be completely new and different. Now, I don't know how much stock you put in his words, but if he is to be taken at face value, completely new and different will be pretty sick for Splatoon. The Splatoon campaigns have done basically the same thing time and time again, with quick switches on the weapons, the ink color, and whether you're an Inkling or an Octoling. But a big switch is something that would be, to me, very shocking because we didn't get it with the third entry. Splatoon 3 was, by all accounts, Splatoon 2, but much better. This sounds like something crazy. One idea I've heard thrown out there is having multiple ink colors at once, that you're using different ink colors for different things, able to swim through this, dissolve this, whatever they're for, like different powered inks, which would be pretty sick and would evolve the Splatoon formula in a completely new and different way. If it's just more puzzles, if it's just a deeper story, that doesn't really do it for me. Now, this could be a case of Nintendo PR where Mr. Nagami is told, just hype this thing up, please. But I'm going to say that as the producer, and not as he's not Doug Bowser, who we know is a robot, Nagami's probably being pretty candid here. Completely new and different sounds great. We don't have a release date. There was some thought that this could come out at 2024 because of something that was seen in a Spanish Nintendo Spain expansion pass commercial. And it said 2024, but we'll have to wait and see. We have no date. But what we do have a better date for, at least a window, is Persona 3 Reload. And this is gaining so much steam. If you don't want to believe me, if you don't want to believe Nate Drake, believe in the Persona. Persona 3 Reload was announced at Microsoft's Xbox Showcase for Xbox. And then they were like, yo, it's coming to PlayStation, and it's coming to PC. And it's not coming to Switch. At least it has not been announced yet. And this has sort of been the linchpin for hey, if Persona 3 Reload does not get announced for Switch, that seems like a good chance of a direct. Persona 3 Reload has now popped up at 3 retailers for Switch, including PlayAsia, who, when contacted, said it's not an error. You can pre-order the Switch version. And now we have an unlisted commercial that got uploaded late last night, Sunday night. It's in English, and it says, coming to Nintendo Switch in the description. So if this isn't the biggest ta-da, something coming from Nintendo soon to announce this. They love to announce the Atlas stuff in their own way, which I find kind of funny. Just get it out there. But Nintendo needs to fill up a show because they're going to have a big show and they want to keep it for themselves. There's no other reason, right? We're on the same page there. Nintendo isn't withholding the information about Persona 3 Reload for any other reason except they have a presentation. We can all agree on that, right? Whether you believe the insiders or not. This from Atlas, their own commercial, saying it's coming to Nintendo Switch, and 3 retailers saying it's coming to Nintendo Switch, but it hasn't been announced yet. Why? Explain to me why. And now I'm going to explain to you why there's so much disgust right now for Nintendo. And there's this general consensus on the internet that Nintendo is not going to do anything. But before my full rant, even the naysayers are starting to walk it back. Even the naysayers are starting to come to to the light side. Christopher Dring, head of GameIndustry.biz, who said, absolutely not, one of the staunchest people about Nintendo having nothing. He said they may have moved it up in response to a tweet asking about the Direct. The date I was told was a way off, but retail and marketing now know the slate for the rest of the year, so it could drop at any time, I suppose. They may have moved it up. First of all, I do not believe Directs get moved up. I think this is just a case of people rode. They wanted to ride the Nintendo has nothing negativity train all the way into the summer station. It's pulled in. Now maybe it doesn't serve them as well anymore. Now maybe they have to acknowledge new things are coming. And now maybe there actually is going to be a Direct. Dring follows this up with another tweet saying this: I'm not expecting a Direct this month because I was told it'd be later in the summer, but things change, so I wouldn't stick that on my site. For all the vehemence about Nintendo has nothing, he's not even confident enough about no Direct to put it on his site. The possibility is there, my friends. Let it in. Welcome it in. Examine the evidence. Persona 3 Reload. Nate Drake. Necro Philippe. Absorb the magic. Get excited. Okay, back to the rant. Part of this is Nintendo's fault that they have lulled us into this cadence where they do what's best for them and they do what they believe works. Who cares about anybody else? That's a pattern that they have established for themselves over decades of coverage and decades of releases and decades of consoles. We cannot argue that, and we cannot place that blame anywhere except on Nintendo themselves. But what we can do is look and say the Switch was the darling for so darn long. And by sales numbers, it still is the darling. But in the greater coverage eye, the Nintendo Switch is not the darling. And it hasn't been probably for a while. And it's getting progressively worse. You see, Nintendo Switch has never been a favorite console of many journalistic publications. The Joy-Con are crampy, the Switch doesn't run as good. Understanding that a lot of these reviewers want to play the biggest, the best, the latest, the greatest. And right now, at this point, the Switch is so old, it's like a smelly can of beans left outside in 110-degree Arizona weather. It really is. The hardware is at a point where they can't even really get a presence at Summer Game Fest because the only things that are being put out on Switch at this point are a miracle port of Mortal Kombat 1, thank goodness, and indies. Nintendo would be the other part of that, but they didn't want to be a part of that. They didn't want to be a part of Keighley's Summer of Fakey 3. But we do understand that the excitement for the Switch, the novelty has well worn off. And despite Tears of the Kingdom being like, oh my god, the best game ever, it's Tears of the Kingdom that stands above the Switch. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's Tears of the Kingdom being awesome and amazing in spite of the Switch itself. I bet you so much that so many people that love this and reviewed this so highly, if they could play it on PC or PS5 or Xbox Series X, they wouldn't a heartbeat. Nintendo Switch just is in a place where it is old and it's not the cool thing, and even when things do come to Switch, it's inferior. Even the Mortal Kombat port that we're like, yes, thanks for being part of it, thanks for coming, Saber, they're going to do an amazing job, we know that they're going to port this thing so darn well, it's inferior. So when you're looking at greater coverage of a game, you're going to prioritize the other versions. It doesn't matter about sales, doesn't matter about what. The hardcore want to know about the visual prowess and power of the PS5, the Xbox Series X, and the latest PC graphic cards. So then we have this trickle-down effect where YouTubers hate on Nintendo, and they want Nintendo to seem like they're the third party. I don't mean third party as in Square Enix or Warner Brothers. I mean like third place, because they have done so little, and I feel like Nintendo has spited fans in a way, unintentionally, with the whole Nintendo Switch Pro thing that dates back multiple years now. The fact that we've been waiting and expecting and anticipating and hoping for a new console and it didn't come, I think created some distaste and some spite. It might not be fair. Maybe it's the fault of YouTubers for even bringing it up, but Bloomberg began the mess and we never got it. We got an OLED instead, and the OLED is a great upgrade, but it's hard to call a system from 7 years ago getting any sort of new thing an upgrade. It's more like a less of a downgrade, you know what I mean? Like, it's not where people want it to be. You got stuff like the ROG Ally coming out, and you're like, oh my gosh, this thing can play any game. It's freaking incredible. The sticks feel great. It doesn't feel like a Joy-Con. The triggers are awesome. The screen is fantastic. It's a PC in my palm. And then I pick up the Switch, and I'm not shading the Switch, but it's just not, it's not cool anymore. like from a greater sense, right? It's not the hip hot thing. And so I think when we have these direct rumors, we're now back in the closer to the Wii U mindset where people are like, no, Nintendo's not going to do anything. They operate at a snail's pace. They're so slow because we have this history, right? We have this history to show us that, yeah, Nintendo, they kind of just do what they want. They coast into the next gen. But as I've pointed out multiple times throughout the past weeks, we have facts to back up that things are different. First of all, we have a totally different leadership executive team at Nintendo than we had in those past generations. And second, and maybe more importantly, we have sales and success of games, software, and hardware that we did not have anything close to in past generations. This is a different Nintendo that was gearing up for Zelda and wanted to make that the focal point, and people read that as the end point. And this was backed up by notable industry writers like Christopher Dring. We had Andy Robinson at VGC. We even had IGN parroting this idea that, oh, Nintendo's going real light on the second half. But I want to remind you of something very important, and I hope that you've stayed to this point in the video. Negativity sells higher than positivity. This is something that is just absolutely fact, unfortunately, in our society. Negativity sells more than positivity. When you turn on the news, you don't see, oh, grandma picked up little kid and helped him so he didn't scrape his knee. No, you see like, oh my gosh, there was this bad thing happened and this bad thing happened and this politician. Like, negativity sells. And negativity also sells on YouTube, on the internet. It's much easier, it's much more low effort, low energy, high possible results to bash on something, to sensationalize, to get the people going, right? That's just like a whole mentality and idea. And I do believe that a part of the absolute disbelief in a Nintendo Direct is partially that. It's easier, it's cooler, and it feels better to kind of hate on Nintendo right now as they're in a lower position and things that they do are not as fun and cool as they used to be. This isn't year one of Switch with Snipper Clips and Mario Odyssey and Mario plus Rabbids 1. This is year 7 and the system is sour and the graphics aren't very good and the performance is stinky and we're getting leftovers, has-beens, indies, and Nintendo has not announced anything. I understand it does not look good. I understand that there's a world where you could fall into this trap and say, Zelda is so good, the Switch is in a bad position, those things don't match up, I'm going to feel crummy about Nintendo. Great about Zelda, crummy about Nintendo. But the real deal here is we're getting a Direct this week. I wish we could have like a bet or something. It's hard. Like I've gotten messages from people saying like, there's no Direct, why are you talking about this? There's a lot of people with a lot of insider information talking about a Nintendo Direct. And don't even get me started in the fact that it sounds like there's 2 events, one in June and one in July. I'll save that for another day. And I won't mention the Direct again until it gets announced, okay? That'll be our bet. I don't know how we bet. I don't know what, like, I don't want anything. I just want the people that were saying it absolutely was not going to happen. Shut up. Don't talk about a Direct. This is ridiculous. Nintendo's doing nothing. They're done. They're dead in the water. Zelda's it. They put out all their effort on Zelda and the year is done. They're gonna coast. They don't care. No more games. Like, I just want them to be the first ones to read the tweet, and I want to know what's going on in their mind when they're about to make a video confirming this Direct coming, confirming that there's new games coming. What's gonna happen? How are they gonna balance that out in their head? And I don't know how they're gonna do that, because there's people that have been so darn consistent with their complaint that Nintendo's doing nothing and will do nothing. So we'll see. Everything will be decided by what happens, right? The reality cannot be argued with, at least by most people. Smart people, I guess. Anyhow, let me know what you think. Do you feel like it's uncool to love Nintendo again? Like, are we in a spot where Nintendo, because of the graphical inferiority of the Switch, the whole Switch Pro feeling, and the fact that Nintendo hasn't announced much has put it in this position where I feel like PS5 and Xbox are starting to surge. The games are going next gen only. Things are, really improving and impressing. And there's a ton of great games coming out. And so Switch, it's not the hot, cool new kid anymore. It's like, dude, you moved from Alaska. That was fun for the first few weeks. Don't talk about it anymore. Stop trying to give little snow globes to all. No, we're over it. People are over the Switch. But I think they'll be brought back when we see awesome new stuff for the rest of the year. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Until next time, people, love you lots. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. SwitchForce out.